Okay, on to the last match of our league. We are 2-2 at the moment. We lost our first match against Four Color, and our second against Eldrazi Tron. Then managed to beat Azcanta Miracles, and we just won against Red Black Reanimator somehow. Our opponents lived on Island Preordain, which means we're playing against either Sneak and Show or the Mirror. So we're going to probe and find out. We've got a backup probe. We're hoping to draw Black Source here to take the Show and Tell or the Brainstorm. Or a Ritual would have been nice. Unfortunately, we do not find any of those, so we're going to have to pass the turn. So we're taking the Show and Tell here. The simple reason being that's the threat in his hand. We'd like to take the Brainstorm as well, but we're just going to have to deal without taking that. We've tipped him off as to what we're on. It's pretty obvious now. Lotus Petal and Duress are exactly one. Oh, sorry. Well, I guess the two Storm decks in the format, but it's not a broad number of decks. We're just going to keep aggressively attacking his hand here. We want to do this just to try and keep him off balance and from enacting his game plan. And I think perhaps maybe it was correct to take Preordain there, which is his filtering. Omniscience, on the other hand, means that if it's hit a Show and Tell on the top, he gets to Show and Tell, play as Emrakul, Show and Tell, put Omniscience into play as Emrakul, and win from there. So we want that second land, and we're going to... I think we want to Therapy this turn. And I think we really should be naming Emrakul here. Actually, no, if we want to name Force of Will, we want to name Force of Will so that we can go off next turn. Unfortunately, he's found a Snake Attack, so it's possible we should have named Emrakul instead. We still would have been a little bit cold to the Spell Pierce there, but that's fine. So we're going to bring in Flusterstorms, Echoing Truths, and Xantid Swarm. We need Echoing Truths in case we're on the white Leyline plan. We'll cut Preordains, a Cabal Ritual, and a Past in Flames and a land. We cut the Past in Flames as they'll almost definitely have a Grafdigger's Cage and access to a Surgical Extraction. And so our kind of hope here is always that they'll play something like a show and tell, and drop a Griselbrand into play while we have a Xantid Swarm, and we'll get to untap and just kill them. We're going to keep this hand. Looks great. We have Probe Therapy turn 1. And we hit the jackpot. They've got double show and tell in hand. Along with double Emrakul, but we're going to take the show and tell. We don't care about the Emrakul if they've got no way to drop it into play. We're just going to go ahead and take that while we can. And our opponent gets a bit salty about getting probe therapied. Apparently he's one of the banned probe brigade. I'd like to give a quick shout out to our local sneak and show player in Melbourne, Thomas Salito, who once said to me probe is his favourite card, and he's always fun to play against. So I think we're just going to continue trying to attack whatever he's doing. We will, I think, take... Okay, if we take the fetch, I think we can actually just pass the turn. So we've cut him off from any real action there. We've got a Flusterstorm in case he tries anything. And he still hasn't really found anything to do. So we probably want to pitch a Bayou. I almost want to pitch one of the rituals there to keep finding more combo pieces. But we're fine with... I think just trying to hunt for... to be a little more aggressive with our Ponder. So I think we should have kept the Ad Nauseam there. I think we could have... okay, so the reason we can't... Is there a reason we can't Ad Nauseam? I think we can hit Threshold regardless, so I think that would have been the correct play there, to just jam it. Actually, no, so we needed a land drop. That would be why. We wanted a land drop. So instead we're going to Duress. And our opponent's going to Surgical us by the looks of it. Clearly hates Gitaxian Probe more than he should. So we can Surgical us, that's fine. Once Duress resolves, we're going to have Threshold regardless, which means we're going to get to Ad Nauseam with black floating, a land drop open, and a Lotus Petal. And the Lotus Petal, if needs be, can be used to force a Flusterstorm through. So opponent just still has nothing. I guess we knew that. So it's not the safest ad nauseam, but I think it's worthwhile going for here. Unfortunately, we're just drawing a lot of garbage. So I almost wonder if we can ponder for a Dark Ritual here. Or ponder for a Cabal Ritual, I guess. And as is very typical for Moto, we shuffle away a one-off Dark Petition and we immediately draw it. Fortunately, from where we're at the moment, I think any piece of mana gets us the game. Because we can then cast, we probably want a Dark Ritual, but then we do something like cast Past in Flames. Okay, so we're going to aggressively counter his cantrips here, just to stop him from getting online. And this now means we need to hit Cabal Ritual. Okay, so unfortunately a Flusterstorm we didn't pay enough attention to. And I'm not sure if our opponent made a mistake there or just has to shuffle away the contents of his brainstorm. So opponent now has probably something like Emrakul. Oh, okay, he's got EE. So he's just got Emrakul in hand now. I don't know what he expects EE to do. And unfortunately we can see Dark Petition here being a bit of a brick in our hand. I guess LED might not have been much better. But we can just see what looks like a fairly straightforward tutor is quite hard to cast. So we're just going to Infernal Tutor and we'll grab one more Duress. So that we can fire off this Duress and still have one as a backup for if we want to do anything more. He's clearly just trying to bluff. So after one of the worst ad nauseums that we could possibly imagine, we're now also just continuing to draw garbage. I don't think we even have that many non-mana cards left in our deck. So we're going to keep attacking with the Xanted Swarm here, every chance we're able, just to keep our opponent on edge as much as anything. And we're going to hope very hard he doesn't find a sneak attack. So Brainstorm is perfect. Should be perfect. So I think we can put back 2 lands here. And then we can Infernal Tutor, grab another LED. And actually... Okay, we should have Infernal Tutor to grab an LED there. That would have given us +1 mana. Doesn't really make much difference from here. Actually, no, so Infernal thing for another LED wouldn't have been the best idea, because we would have wound up down 1 mana after Engineered Explosives. Okay. So this was actually the correct line. Actually, no, we would have been fine. So we would have had a second LED on the stack. So never mind. Yes, we should have infernaled for an LED. So you could see a moment ago there exactly how many hits I had left, which is most of our library at that point. And we'll just get out a very long, drawn-out win. We'll just run the same list back. Doesn't seem to be anything wrong with what we're doing. We didn't see any new cards that we were particularly threatened about. So I do know some players in this matchup like bringing in Empty the Warrens for its interaction with Cabal Therapy. I personally don't like being able to combo and have my opponent do something like Brainstorm into sneak attack into Emrakul and just kill me. So I would much rather just try to keep it a bit sleeker and go for a Tendrils win. So we kept our opener, a couple of Ponders, a Brainstorm, a Dark Ritual, and a Duress. So we're going to be a bit soft to like a turn 1 or to a turn 2 win. We're always going to be soft to a turn 1 win. from Show and Tell, unless it's literally the Show and Tell drop Emrakul. Sorry, Show and Tell drop Griselbrand. And we need to shuffle that. We kind of liked some of those cards, but not enough. Okay, so we probably wanted to keep the Underground Sea there. And we can try to jam the Xantid Swarm here and see if it eats a Force of Will. Okay, so instead we're firing off the Duress, which is probably better sequencing. So this leaves us a little cold, potentially next turn. Although, having said that, if they do go Show and Tell, we drop a Xantid Swarm, we ponder and try to find exactly an LED. And that would let us win. If that doesn't pan out, if that didn't pan out, then we would lose. So instead we're going to Duress, and we're going to lean heavily on the Xantid Swarm and Disruption plan. And just hope that the Duress will take something relevant. Okay, so we're going to take the Brainstorm here. Because what we can do next turn, so depending on what he draws off the Brainstorm. So a Show and Tell is still beatable for us from here. And I think we lose to exactly Show and Tell, nothing else. The Brainstorm obviously lets him see a couple of cards deeper. But if he hasn't drawn exactly Force of Will, what we can do is we can jam the Xantid Swarm. Now he can Cunning Wish here if he wants, but if he Cunning Wishes, we can Flusterstorm. So we can Cunning Wish for Force if he didn't draw it. Okay, so Xantid Swarm resolves, and so we're fairly sure he's going to Cunning Wish for something to remove it at the end of turn. Yep, which he does, so we'll Fluster this now. And this is leaving us in a really good spot. And with any luck, we're going to be able to untap here and just attack with the Xantid Swarm and win. And so we're going to use the underground sea here as we wanted to keep red up in case we were going to tutor for passing flames without an LED, but we find the LED. So we might as well just jam it. And fortunately we've got a nice easy deterministic kill from here. Okay, and we get there.